Well, boys, we are sitting in the exact same spot that I sat 1 year ago in my BMW 335 when I did my 1 month review. And I wish I could have my 335 sitting right behind this truck and say that I had two cars, but unfortunately that is just not the case. And I no longer own the BMW 335. I unfortunately traded it in for this Toyota Tacoma. I'm going to be moving soon, and where I'm moving to, I'm going to get a little bit of snow, and my BMW would have not made the cut, which is why I bought this. And no, I am going to be getting another sports car eventually, but when I can comfortably afford it. So for now, I'm going to be using this opportunity to tap into a new community of truck owners and learn something new, because I know a lot about cars. I know a lot about BMWs and foreigns, but I don't know a lot about trucks or Tacomas, for example. And now let's begin the 1 month review, starting on the inside of the truck. First thing you're going to notice on my Tacoma is I have ripped up seats. These seats are actually not the originals. These are covers. You'll find that the Tacomas come standard with cloth seats. These do not. These are cat skin seat covers, which are actually very good. They're basically a reupholster for the seat. And the ones that are pretty much intact actually look really nice. So I don't really mind too much. I'll eventually get it fixed. But I would much prefer this over cloth seats, just to keep it 100. As for the rest of the Tacoma, this is the 3rd gen. I looked at 2nd gens, and between the 2nd gen and 3rd gen, the interior upgrade in the 3rd gen is astronomical. I don't like the way the 2nd gens look on the inside. The 3rd gens look great though. You've got a nicely updated and modern cluster here with a little screen in the middle. You can see things like tire pressure, speed, miles per gallon, how much left you have in the tank, just basic stuff. As for the rest of the truck, it's pretty spacious. I know that it's not a full-size truck, but it's pretty spacious. And everything was well kept from the last owner. Nothing's in too bad a condition. I will say, the last owner did upgrade this screen, and I am absolutely in love. I would highly recommend this upgrade for anybody buying a 3rd gen Tacoma. I looked it up on Amazon. I believe it was $500, and it's pretty easy to install, but you get CarPlay. I can even watch YouTube and Netflix on that while I'm driving. Not that I would recommend that, but you can. And then something that I just want to note here while looking at this interior, before we even move to the back of the truck, I bought this truck with 120,000 miles on the dash. I know it's a lot of miles, but these things last a while, so I wasn't really too concerned. But for 120,000 miles, look at this steering wheel. This steering wheel, while there is a little bit of wear, is in phenomenal condition. Assuming it's the original, which I don't see why it wouldn't be. Toyota really holds true to keeping their stuff, lasting a long time. I mean, this steering wheel at 120,000 miles looks really, really solid. And I mean, the rest, that goes for the rest of the truck. I mean, everything in here looks super solid. I mean, you wouldn't even tell that it has been driving around for 120,000 miles. The only thing that I really see wear on is kind of this driver side door. You can see quite a bit of wear, but other than that, the interior of this Tacoma smells and looks great. And now moving on to the back of the Tacoma. It's a little messy, but this was something that a lot of people I see online complain about. There's not a lot of space back here. Tacomas are known for having really small back seats. And to be honest, that's not really something I'm concerned about. And I actually kind of like it back here, and I'll show you why. In the Tacomas, you actually have storage back here and storage under here. Let's see. You can actually lift this up, and you get storage under here. You can see I just got some miscellaneous stuff in here. Okay, there we go. And then back here, if you pull this little lever, you can actually fold this back and you get storage back here. And the same goes for the other seats over there. Larger storage. It's pretty handy if you want to carry tools, jumper cables, anything like that. You can store that all behind your rear seats back here. So you get quite a bit of storage. So for the interior of the Tacoma, I'm going to give it a pretty solid rating. I think it's great. I have no complaints. Now for the outside of the Tacoma, you're going to notice as I review the outside of this Tacoma that there's already a few things done to it. All of that was done by me. I just didn't film anything. I kind of took a break from filming and just took some time to myself But I've already started the process of de-grampifying this truck, getting rid of some of the chrome and adding a few modifications that I find tasteful. The first one being this bumper right here, and the second being the chrome delete on the Toyota logo and the trim around the grille. But anyways, let's start with the paint on the truck. The paint on the truck is really surprisingly good. For 120,000 miles, this paint held up really well. Now it's gonna vary case to case depending on the owner. The owner of the car is gonna determine everything from the way it looks, the way it drives, the reliability, everything. So in my case, I got pretty lucky. There's a few hail dings here and there. You might not pick them up on camera, but they're there. As for the bumper, it's in a little bit more rough of shape, which is expected just from highway driving, bugs, rocks, things like that. You're gonna tend to notice that. The fog lights are sort of faded. Headlights are outdated. One bulb is halogen, one's LED, so I need to get those changed out and upgraded. Moving around to the side of the truck, the wheels. When I bought this truck, they actually put brand new wheels and tires on this truck. I believe these wheels come from a 4Runner, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know the exact tire size. I'm not even, I guess I could look, but I'm not gonna take 10 time to do that. But they're pretty nice, brand new tread. It's a pretty aggressive tire. They're not the biggest, they're not the smallest. But I like them, they're pretty solid. And you can't complain because new is new. The Tacomas also come with these footsteps right here to get inside the truck. Unless you're lifted, you're really not gonna need them. And even if you are lifted, I'd recommend changing them out if you really do need them, because the position of these is very inconvenient. Like if I was to open this door, you're gonna wanna step like right here. You're not gonna wanna step here. You'll understand if you have a Tacoma and you actually use them. Otherwise, you just won't get it. But the paint on the side of the truck is pretty solid. There's a few minor scratches. And what I found pretty cool about these Tacomas is that starting about, see right here, all the way down, they actually have brush and rock guard embedded in the paint. It's like almost like a feel that you would feel when the truck starts to rust. And there's a slight discoloration in the paint. And that's what I thought it was at first. I thought the truck was rusting, but I actually had a Toyota dealership confirm it with me. Did my own research online as well. And that's there for off-roading purposes, and it's actually there to protect it from rust, believe it or not. Moving towards the back bed of the truck. Paint's still in pretty good condition. Let's move back here. Back of the truck looks pretty nice. And something that I want to note while I'm back here, this lock right here. Every truck I've ever been in and I've ever drove, on the key when you lock the truck, it will lock the bed. That's not the case with these Tacomas. The truck could be locked and this sucker is still gonna open up. You gotta lock it manually unless you buy a kit online and wire it from the front of the truck all the way back to here and replace that lock. So if you got important stuff you wanna store in your bed, you gotta make sure you manually lock that. But anyways, since we're in the back here, let's talk about my bed cover that I've got, because this is another thing that I've purchased and already added to the Tacoma. This did not come standard. And I just bought it off eBay. It wasn't super expensive. So here's the brand if you guys are interested. It's a hard top cover. It doesn't leak. The Tacomas, however, do have a little bit of a gap back here, right about here, that I had to fill with foam. Otherwise, regardless of what bed cover you have, it will leak water into there. So if you fill that, and you get a good cover, you'll be pretty solid. As for the inside of the bed, it's pretty solid. It's lined in like a plastic, like, I wouldn't call it a bed liner. It's more of just a plastic, but it's pretty strong. So you're not gonna really have any issue with hauling anything back here and worrying about scratching up any paint or having to put a cover down or any bed liner, because they took care of that for you. Now, in my Tacoma, I have storage here and I have storage here. But I've seen online that in these little pockets, sometimes you'll get things like outlets where you can actually plug things in, like a regular wall outlet, which I thought was pretty cool. And I was slightly disappointed that my truck did not have that. Overall, I'm really liking the outside of the Tacoma, and I have big plans to make it look way better and also to make it drive better. And speaking of driving, let's talk about the drivability of this Tacoma. Coming from a BMW, I'm used to very smooth acceleration, a very luxurious ride. So switching to a Tacoma while it's not the worst ride in the world, it was a bit of a culture shock, to say the least. The Tacomas drive great, don't get me wrong, but there's a few things that I've noticed. The first being the acceleration of my Tacoma is a little bit jerky. I might give it a little bit and then I'll feel a jerk. Now, I don't know if that's something that's wrong with my Tacoma or not. I've talked to people at the dealership. They said it's normal. It's not a big jerk. It's just slightly noticeable. Just kind of something that I wanted to mention. Another thing about this Tacoma in terms of drivability that I actually like is that when you take a look at the suspension, it's got pretty soft suspension, and it is stock suspension. I've taken it off roading. I was gonna try and push it down, but I guess I can't really do that with one hand while I'm filming. But it's got pretty good suspension for being stock, as you can see. There's nothing fancy down there. It's pretty nice. It handles really well, and I do plan on upgrading it in the future to some better suspension potentially. But as of right now, if you're just looking to purchase a truck that can handle a little bit of minor off-roading, this is a great option. I would look no further. And in terms of drivability, that's really it. I haven't really noticed anything else weird. I think when I first bought the truck, I had a little bit of concern because I would put it into drive and I'd feel a slight jerk when it would kick into drive, but I found out that's actually normal for Tundras, Tacomas, all of the above. So I wouldn't worry if you experience that as well. Now, before I end this video off with my 1 month review of this Toyota Tacoma, there's a couple things I want to talk about, some issues I've experienced with this Tacoma in the time that I've had it that I think should be made aware, because I saw a lot of videos online, but actually figuring out what some of these issues were and being able to fix them myself was kind of a bit of a challenge. So when I first bought this Tacoma, obviously I gave it a wash, right? As any sane person would. Even if it was somewhat clean already, I just had to, give it a wash, leave my mark on it. That's just kind of how I am with my cars. And after I gave this truck a wash, let's open this door here, I noticed a bunch of water leaking down this inside this back window. You can even see some watermarks up here. And apparently this is actually really common for Toyotas to leak water through the third brake light up here. So I got up there, stood in my bed, and I was actually able to move this headlight and wiggle it around. Water was just leaking right in for God knows how long, hopefully not long before the other person sold this. And I actually looked into it, and there is an active recall on this third brake light. You can today take your Toyota Tacoma if you experience this issue, bring it into the dealership, and they will fix it zero charge for free. But obviously, I like to do things myself, and I like to get things done quick. So I went to the store, bought some quick RTV sealant maker. I went ahead and just sealed that back up and fixed it in no time at all. Did a pretty solid seal on it. If you do encounter this issue and you do want to fix it yourself, with maybe just buying a new third brake light, which is probably what I should have done, all you have to do is pop out these two clips, which gives you enough room to wiggle the headliner back slightly, fit a socket in there, take out two bolts, and I believe on this side there might be a couple clips as well, plastic clips, I forget. Then you just pull it out, unplug it, put the new one in, clip it back in, bolt it back in, put the headliner back up, and you're good to go. But I wish it could stop there, because unfortunately the leaks don't stop there. I actually experienced another leak. So I was actually driving. And I noticed a musty smell during the rain, and this would occur every time it would rain for a couple weeks, because we were getting some rain here in Texas. And I actually decided to investigate this, and I just went over to the passenger side where the smell was more prominent, lifted up that floor mat, and my whole passenger side floor to the back was wet. And it was only isolated to the passenger side, which I'm really not too sure about, but the driver's side was completely dry. So I started freaking, I started doing a bunch of searching, and I found nothing. This is the issue I found nothing about. People had various different things they wanted me to try, like making sure that my AC wasn't clogged, taking out the cowl in the front and making sure that wasn't plugged up, checking for leaks somewhere down in that area over there. I mean, I literally stripped half of the interior of this truck trying to find a leak, until I found one video online about the rear Tacoma cabin pressure release is leaking. So basically, in these Tacomas, behind this plastic, which has a couple bolts and clips that just pop it out, there is a vent here and a vent behind that seat, which sits in between here. so that whenever you close a door, the pressure is released out and it doesn't cause a backed up pressure in your cabin. Mine had massive leaks. I mean, when you would put a hose over it, it was just pouring water into my interior. And there's no easy fix for that. To fix that, you're actually gonna have to take the bed of this truck off and get 4 people or so to lift it and slide it back using taking out the 4 Torx bolts on the inside of this bed. I didn't have time for that. I didn't want to do that. So I got a shit ton of sealant and I lathered that vent in sealant all around the inside of the truck. I did it for both vents, and it took many attempts to get the leaking to stop because I'm sealing it from the inside, obviously, not the outside, which would have been beneficial. But eventually it did stop. And just to add extra protection, I got some expanding foam and I placed it along the inside of here so that when it rains, 0 water gets even in between that bed anymore. Because I did have a little bit of worry that water might seep through that seal and cause rust. So I just went ahead and put this foam here so that I get no water there at all. And it fixed the issue. My truck smells better now. My truck has no leaks. So if you ever encounter an issue similar to this, now you know what might cause that. It's kind of annoying that Toyota has such a reliable vehicle, yet when it comes to something as small as leaks, they can't even prevent that. But it is what it is. You're getting more pros over cons than you are with this truck, so I can't really complain too much. Overall, I'm very happy with this truck and everything that I've seen about it so far. I definitely like the Tacomas over any other truck, just because of their size, maneuverability, and of course reliability. I mean, this thing's 120,000 miles and it feels like it's brand new. So I think I'm gonna stick with them for a while. I'm excited to explore this truck, modify it, and hopefully tap into a whole other community from what I'm used to. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for watching.